welcome to the Fat Earth podcast. My name is Joe Ward, and before we get started tonight, as always, I would like to remind you at any time that you can copy and paste this link to any YouTube to MP3 website that you can find on the internet. You can download it, you can distribute it, you can send it to your friends, you can use it for educational purposes. In fact, we encourage it. We are always free and we are always independent. Today's topic is a sensitive one. It's to do with a recent viral video. We have reached out to the Dorset Police in an email round about 12 hours ago, and we asked them if they would be willing to make a statement for this programme. We haven't heard anything from them, so in the interest of fairness, before we get started today, I'm going to read out a statement made by the Dorset Police about the incident that we're going to talk about today. Dorset Police updated their status, #latest news. Please find below a statement following a video circulating on social media in relation to police activity in Bournemouth Town Centre on Saturday the 9th of January 2021. We are aware of a video that is circulating on social media in relation to police activity in Bournemouth Town, Saturday 9th of January 2021. This is in relation to a planned protest that was held where arrests were made. It would not be right to go into full details of the incident, as it may still result in court proceedings if fixed penalty notices are not paid by the individuals. The public have the right to film officers in a public place as long as it is not for a criminal purpose. If they choose to share their video with the wider public, we would ask that this is done so within full context. We believe this video was planned, stage managed and recorded by members of the protest group who turned up in multiple areas, several of whom refused to engage or provide their details. If people refuse to give their details in such circumstances, then it leaves officers with little option but to arrest under details of our establishment are spelt wrong. Our officers would only arrest as a last resort. At the earliest opportunity, officers made repeated attempts to engage with organisers to request that they did not go ahead with the planned protest, but this was unsuccessful. It was clear the group were deliberately organising their activities, walking around in twos and trying to gather together in a flash mob style approach as they had done previously. The activity went on for a couple of hours. Officers attended the town centre to disrupt the protest and disperse the groups. Throughout the afternoon, officers gathered evidence on people who had attended the protest and were persistently staying within the area for a prolonged period of time. Those people, including those who were arrested, had earlier engaged and were warned by a number of officers. We are further astonished by the number of the group that were identified as having travelled considerably from outside the Dorset area. Two of the people later supplied details at police custody and were subsequently de-arrested, issued fixed penalty notices. The third person's details were eventually verified in custody. He was issued a fixed penalty notice and released from custody. At least 7 fixed penalty notices were issued to individuals for breaching coronavirus regulations. In addition to this, more than 10 Section 35 dispersal orders were issued. There is no clear exemption for people to leave home to protest. Everyone has a social responsibility to follow the strict COVID-19 lockdown restrictions that are currently in place to help keep people safe and save lives. Our officers have acted with professionalism, integrity and restraint in difficult circumstances, and they have repeatedly tried to engage with those choosing to take enforcement only when there is no other option. Senior officers and the Police and Crime Commissioner have found that our officers' actions were proportionate, justified and correct. Not to forget that these officers placed themselves potentially in harm's way to ensure that other abiding members of the public are protected and continue to be protected by those who ignore COVID regulations. So, I thought, rather than going around the bush, as they say, we'd go straight into the bush with a big fat club and we would find the people who were at the heart of the viral video. This has become such a mess. I think that it's only right that they get an opportunity to tell the truth, or their truth, in their own words. I'm going to start by asking a member of Stand Up Somerset and Dorset, Mike, who's agreed to be with us here today. How are you doing today, Mike?
Yeah, good, thanks, Joe. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you, mate. So, Mike, before we get started, how many times would you say that me and you have met each other?
5 or 6 times over the various demos that we've sort of attended with each other.
Am I coercing you, paying you, anything to say or answer my questions here today?
I wish you were, mate.
Yeah, there's obviously some real wild accusations. I wanted to ask you, because you obviously make videos for the group, and you know you've been there since the beginning. You are one of the sort of core members of the group that's been there with the guys, making a noise in Bournemouth, letting people know that that the people aren't going to take it and that there is a movement going on there. But why do you think the police have chosen to take this action?
For me, it's to do with the video going viral. So, I mean, you mentioned quickly earlier about when you came down and you and I got arrested that time. Was it back in November?
Yes, November 26th, I believe.
I mean, why there was never any of these statements after then, was it? And if you remember that time, the demo was actually a lot bigger. So I would say 200 or 300 people.
Yeah.
So why did they have these police statements after that happened? I mean, it would suggest it's something to do with the viral video, wouldn't it? And they are generally worried about the comeback from that. I mean, that's my hunch with why they're doing this. And I say,
as we've said many times on these shows, these groups aren't made up of extremists. They're made up of regular people who are coming together because they just, of all walks of life, of all ages, of all backgrounds, because we feel like something isn't right here. What were the goals when you guys arrived on Saturday, and what were you guys aiming to do?
We were looking to do a small demonstration. I mean, there's no point. I mean, obviously the viral videos have been put out implying certain things, but at the end of the day, I mean, for example, the lady who filmed the incident, I mean, we've never seen her in her life. So it's just literally people from the public who are obviously concerned. And I say, I mean, it's very easily proven that we don't know this lady. I mean, and I'm sure the police will know this as well. I believe she's from up in Fareham when I quickly looked on her profile.
So you made available to the public on Facebook a conversation that you had leading up to the protest on Saturday. And I've heard that conversation. A lot of people have heard that conversation. They mentioned some things that I mentioned in my last podcast that I just wanted to confirm with you, just so we're absolutely clear before we obviously get into the lady's story. The police said to you, did they or did they not, that their intention wasn't to go into the protest, wasn't to needlessly arrest people. You would be able to do a protest and a march within the sort of realms of what you'd done previously, and that it would be policed as previous protests had been policed.
Saturday. What are your plans for this coming Saturday?
To be honest, if I'm honest, Phil, we haven't got a detailed plan in place. We were thinking of possibly doing somehow spreading ourselves out in twos to try and make it a bit easier for you guys, but also I wanted to have a chat, obviously, with what you were planning on doing. Were you going to come in and just arrest us all? Because obviously it's a little bit different now, obviously being here, whatever it is.
No, there's no intentions to do that.
Okay.
Absolutely none at all. There's no intentions there. We are. I've just got off the phone from my boss. We're happy with you to march if you want to.
I read this email, I think it was very late on Thursday, and I said on the Friday I called up the liaison officer early evening and was basically advised to cancel the demonstration. I again asked, do you plan to come in and arrest people? And again, once they confirmed, no, we are not coming in to arrest people. That is not the plan.
You got 5 minutes.
I certainly have.
I've been asked to make contact with you urgently and ask that you don't do tomorrow.
Okay.
No, okay. I've been asked to ask you.
So are you coming in and doing arrests then, are you? Or?
No, that's not the message that I've been asked to ask. No, we won't. That's not what we'll be doing.
But yes, on the Friday they did encourage us to cancel the demonstration. But as I mentioned, I did make it clear to them, are you going to come in to arrest any of us? and they made it clear and said, no, that is not our intention.
The reaction that you received when you got there, that was obviously, I'm imagining, quite a shock.
Totally, because I mean, if I'm honest, this Saturday I did things a little bit differently to what I normally do. I wanted to kind of test out how sort of putting in a few of the lives into the group, just to see how, just do a few tests with the censorship and stuff like that. So I basically hung back for about 20 minutes, came down to the pier, noticed there was just loads of police everywhere, and kind of, we just went onto the beach and just kind of like hid ourselves, kind of like we hid ourselves under the bridge at first, didn't we? Under the pier. And we quickly realised that there was no way that we were going to be able to congregate together, because they were literally, and basically later on in the day, when I sort of went back into town, when we kind of all split up, I realised how many police had strategically placed in the gardens, the square, and the pier. So basically, my hunch is that everyone was sort of coming out into twos, we were coming in to congregate, and they were just getting picked off by the police in the gardens, in the square, and by the pier. We've been deemed dono since obviously last May, and we have never known that many police. It was unbelievable.
It was mental. I am a firm believer that protest is within our human rights. I said this to someone earlier. If we saw what was going on now in protests in the UK, going on in Iran or China or Korea, we'd be there saying, we need to invade that country. There needs to be civil war. Like, what is going on in that country? And now it's here. It's here. It's literally here. Mike, I'm going to ask you straight up, before we get into the girl's story, was there a plan or a conspiracy put into place last Saturday by you or anybody that you know in the stand-up group to make the police look stupid?
Categorically not. For example, it's so easily proven, because the lady, I won't mention the name, the lady whose video went viral, I've never met this lady in my life, I've never spoke to her, and it is very easily proven, and I'm pretty sure Dorset Police will have worked that out by now. So it is a little bit worrying that they've kept this statement up, knowing full well the video that went viral. This lady, I question whether she's even been down to any of the Bournemouth demos before, and that wasn't the first time. So categorically not. It's at the end of the day, the way that I believe they are trying to make people perceive this. I mean, are they suggesting members of the public are not allowed to film? I don't know.
Not against the law?
The absolute madness, for example, if you look at the video that I posted, about the 10-minute video, one of their cameramen, who was actually filming us, pushes a member of the public back who was filming. I mean, how? It's absolute madness. How are they allowed to film us? Yet when we go to film them, they can push us away.
No, like I said, I don't know you guys that well, but I do know that you guys have always protected me and you guys have always looked after me. And so I wanted to give you guys a fair opportunity. I've got both girls here. I've got Ray. Say hi, Ray.
Hey.
How are you doing today? Everything okay?
Yes, everything's all good, thank you.
And we've got the soon-to-be mainstream motherfucking sensation Marcia here with us as well. How you doing, Marcia?
Good, Joe. How you doing?
So, in your own words, girls, what happened that day? From when you guys arrived to the moment that obviously we saw.
Yeah, okay. Well, like Mike says, we all turned up. The plan was to do what we usually do on a Saturday afternoon, which is all wander around Bournemouth together. But from just turning up, it was obvious that the police were onto everyone. They were harassing everyone in sight, whether people had signs, whether they didn't. I mean, I saw them annoying members of the actual public that weren't even part of the protest. I've never seen people before. So from the start, it was just obvious that the march wasn't going to go ahead. So we literally just decided, it's a beautiful day, we decided to just have a wander around the beach. Me and my father were there, and we were actually collecting seashells on the beach. This was all while we noticed the police were filming us. So we just carried on doing what we were doing. It was obvious there wasn't going to be a march. So we were just going to enjoy the afternoon, go for a walk and have a cup of coffee, which is actually literally what we did. And it all went there. The police were just absolutely everywhere. I mean, if they were saying we set it up, that's pretty narcissistic to me, because it was clear that they had set us up. They were out in force with their cameras. I've never seen so many police.
There was at least like 2 police to every one person that was there, really.
Easily, yeah, they were everywhere, from the square to the pier, throughout the gardens,
On the beach.
on the beach. Yeah, and they were there just filming us, pointing people out and filming them.
I don't know, what was there, 5 or 6 of the members of the public filming us? So they've got about 20 cameramen. How have they not got any evidence to produce any of their claims that they're
That's all the
saying?
CCTV
Surely if they had
was looking
evidence of this long statement they made, they would be posting clips of it. If they had, we're producing our evidence with the videos from the members of the public. Why are they not producing theirs? Because they have many more cameramen than us.
Yeah.
Many more.
Marcia, I just want to take it back a tiny bit. Just in the interest of fairness, when did you start coming on these protests?
I've been coming since, I think, May last year, when there was only a small group of people. But I've been doing, let's say, research into these subjects for, say, 15 or 20 years.
Okay.
So I was instantly questioning the narrative. I've been looking into alternative news, shall we say, for many, many years. So it's nothing new to me. I know things that are going on, and as soon as the whole COVID thing started, I knew something wasn't right.
In the protest last Saturday, when was the first time that you felt in danger, or that something was wrong, or that something was happening, or a situation might escalate?
As soon as we turned up, there was a real awkward air. It felt like they were out to get us.
Ray, would you say that this is the heaviest police presence that you've seen on one of these protests so far in Bournemouth?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, since we've been going since March last year, and it's been growing and growing immensely, the police have been nothing but really supportive of us right from the beginning, right from get-go. They literally, I remember sitting on the wall in the summer speaking to them, and they said to us that they were there to support us, and that if anything was to put us in danger or to jeopardise us in any way, that they would be there to help us and to support us. And they were absolutely amazing. We've had an amazing rapport with Bournemouth Police, the Dorset Police. When it came to Saturday, like Marcia said, the whole ambience of the day was just, from the get-go, it was just completely unsettled and unnerving. So much so that we did call the protest off. It was obvious to me, anyway, and the group, that...
And anyone that was there as well.
Yeah, I mean, everybody. I mean, it was pretty obvious from the get-go that it wasn't going to go ahead, so it was instantly called off. But the police kept their presence up throughout the day. We dispersed. We went and done our own little thing, just enjoying the afternoon, as you do. And I remember looking around, and I thought I'd go and get a coffee. And there was no police. Everybody had disappeared, and I thought, oh, okay. They've given up and gone. I thought, that's great. Right, I'm going to go get a coffee. I'm going to sit down and chill. And that's exactly what I did. They were approaching everybody that was seen to even be walking through that pier approach. I was only at the pier approach, but I understand it was happening in the gardens. It was also happening at the square, and it was also happening up at the town hall. They were pretty much all through Bournemouth.
So, what was the first thing that happened when the police came over to you? Did they make themselves known? Did they go straight into conversation? What was the first thing the police did when they came over to you?
Can I just say that they'd already approached Marcia and her father previous to me turning up, so I was unaware that we'd already had this warning.
Okay. And can I just ask Marcia what they said during that warning? Was that an official warning, or was it just kind of a get out of here kind of police threat warning?
Yeah. We all sat down, the lady had come and sat and started eating her chips, and they walked up to us and said, oh, you need to disperse now. I said, well, my dad's sitting down, my dad's elderly, we'll go when he's fit. So after a little bit of conversation, they went and they just left us alone. I was sat there with my elderly father, and when he can't walk, he can't walk.
Yeah.
So we were having a cup of tea, We were sat on one end of the bench, a lady was sat on the other end of the bench, there was a couple of people chatting near us. And
the beach was busy that day.
the beach was very... There were people everywhere.
And can I just say, I couldn't honestly say I didn't witness a mask on one face. The only mask that I've seen anybody wearing was the undercover police officers, and that was the only way that I could tell that they were
It's quite funny. I obviously had a face covering on because I was obviously trying to hide myself from the police, and I actually felt out of place.
It's one thing we didn't do, and if it was a staged event, we have previously said, in a way to blend in with the crowd, we'll wear a mask. And I did say that's the only time I'll wear a mask, is that's to you know what I mean, to hide my identity. But if it was staged in any way, we would have been better prepared for that.
Suddenly there was like swarms of them, and they were just coming towards us, and that was it. Basically, they just came over to us. They came over to me, and they said, "Oh, you need to move now."
They were very firm and
they were very aggressive this time. Yeah. Mm. So I started asking questions about whether they could prove that the virus exists and how many hospital beds were actually full, just like dropping some truth bombs, things like that. And then they were going, "Oh, we don't care, we're not interested, you need to go." So I said, "Right, okay, fair enough, I'm going." And I started picking up my dad's bag and everything. And one of them just pushed me against the bench and went, "No, you're not going." I said, "Well, you told me to leave, so I'm about to leave." And then they all just surrounded me and slapped the cuffs on me, and that was it.
Unbelievable. So you didn't feel like that there was any encouragement before enforcement?
There definitely was not for each time.
And it was pretty much the same thing to me. At that precise moment in time, I just knew that we had to go. We were asked to go. I complied. I said, okay. There was a bit of a heated discussion just before that. I mean, she was adamant that she'd given me a warning, and I was adamant that nobody had approached me, and this was the first occasion. And she understood that, and she said, okay, so could you please leave? I said, yeah, of course I'll go. So we left. I linked arms with Marcia's dad to help him get up off the bench, and the officers moved out of the way, allowed us to walk off. I think we took about 5 steps all in all, and then an officer stood in front of Marcia's dad to stop him from manoeuvring forward. Another officer came from this side to stop me from manoeuvring, and I was then told that I couldn't go anywhere.
Marcia, do you mind me asking how old your dad is?
He's 79.
It's unbelievable. Our police force that someone like him has probably paid into his whole life, don't think that he has the ability at 79 years old to make his own adult decisions about whether he wants to be out or not.
He was really scared after. When he was like, "Well, where's your mum?" And I was like, "Well, she's just been nicked." And he was like, "What?" It was like, "She's been arrested." And he was terrified after that. The police started taking us onto the beach, and he was just like, "I'm too old for this now."
Hello, by the way.
Yeah, he doesn't want to come anymore because of the police presence.
They basically scared a 79-year-old from coming to any more of our demos.
Yeah. That's been his only company for the last year, because Hannah left the planet, and yeah, he made some friends at the protest, and now I don't want to go.
Yeah, literally, he's even said himself to us. I mean, the girls have even said it. They lost, and I hope you don't want me talking about it, but Marcia lost her mum
January.
Last January, a year ago, and literally, they've both said, and Colin has said, that if it wasn't for us guys that last year, they wouldn't have been able to get through that year, especially with what's going on with everything. And now for him to now say that he's actually too scared to even go, so that's his social interaction totally shut down because of the police actions. And I'm absolutely disgusted by the way that they acted that day. Totally disgusted.
That's how they run. It's threats. That's it. Threats and fear. Ray, I want to ask you, because one of the points of the video that really got me was when you started to get upset. What was specifically upsetting you, and how angry did you feel in that moment, again, as an adult, being told by another adult that, 1, your opinion on COVID doesn't mean anything, and 2, to go home like a child and stay in your home? How did that make you feel?
To be honest, I'm still reeling from the whole situation, and I haven't completely divulged what's happened in my mind. To be fair, I was astounded, I was shocked, I felt threatened. I was fearful. My anxiety went through the roof. Yeah, and I mean, part of the video that you've seen isn't the full video of my actual arrest. I do have the full video. The way that they manhandled me, they were trying to strip me over. They squeezed the cuffs pretty hard on my hands so that I screamed. My hands were swollen and bruised. They would not remove those cuffs even when they put me in the van. I've never been in the back of a police van in my life. I've never been handcuffed in my life. Yet they made me feel like a complete criminal. A complete criminal. And for what? Because I've got a different opinion. Really?
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They're treating regular everyday people like criminals when the real criminals are the ones that are putting us in this situation, the reason that we need to be out there. Girls, I'm going to ask you the same as I asked Mike. Can either of you think of any reason that the Dorset Police would believe that you two were involved in a conspiracy against them?
It's got nothing to do with it going viral, Joe. That's the essential answer.
I honestly, when they released that statement, like, I just laughed. Like, simply, why, or even how would I even go about staging my own arrest, or even our arrest?
Well, this is the same police force we've been liaising with for 8 months. The same police force.
It's a pretty long-winded conspiracy from you guys if you are trying to pull something over their eyes.
I'll post every single bit of evidence. I'll post it on my walls. You've seen the phone calls and stuff like that, so you know that the stuff that we say is true. The Dorset Police have not backed up any of their claims with any evidence whatsoever, apart from words.
And we have done nothing but work with them the same they've worked with us, and it's worked. Up till now, it's worked. I don't know what's changed. All I know is I don't like it, and it's instilling fear into people that's unnecessary, and it's very detrimental to people's well-being.
So, what happened once you guys were actually placed under arrest?
Well, we were taken to Bournemouth Police Station, and I was held there for I don't know how long. In a cell, I was led straight into a cell, which I didn't want to go in, but it's because I could see blood on the seat. And there's 6 open cells there, so they could have put me in any one, but there was one that had like blood smeared on the seat. But I said to them, I don't want to go in that one, and they went, "Oh, it doesn't matter, stick that." So I was sat in the cell for however long it was, still handcuffed behind my back. I was getting really thirsty, and I asked them for a glass of water, and they said no.
Did you give them any reason to keep the cuffs on you? Did they have any reason to believe that you might be violent or dangerous?
When they put me in that, I sat down there perfectly still, didn't move for the whole time. I was sat there.
Disgraceful.
And they just sat there for hours, ages, staring at me, asking me to give my details. They basically said to us, you have to give your details. If you don't give your details, then you're basically staying here all weekend. So,
by the way, here in the UK, they've written into legislation now that when we're in a lockdown, at any point that they can keep you indefinitely against the Coronavirus Act. The 24 hours doesn't matter. So effectively, we're being treated like terrorists. There's no other way to describe it. We're being treated like terrorists.
We are being treated like criminals. My point throughout the whole thing was, tell me what law I've broken. Tell me what crime I've committed. They came back with regulations. I went, that's not law, that's not a crime. Show me the victim. I've not harmed anyone. I've not stolen anything. What crime have I committed? And they came back with regulations. Give us your details so you can take a fine and we'll let you out.
Ray, what happened to you in terms of your arrest and release?
Well, they were pretty brutal from the get-go as soon as they put these cuffs on. Because I wasn't going to comply with them, they decided that they would probably treat me in the way that they did. Again, I was cuffed the entire time in the back of the van. I do suffer with claustrophobia, but I dealt with it. I was surprisingly calm the whole time. It was like...
It's strange when you don't feel that when you're not doing anything wrong, you don't get that feeling of guilt, do you? That's it. We're not doing anything wrong.
Exactly. All the time I was saying to them, what have we done wrong?
The same as I was.
And we got nothing.
And got nothing in return.
That's it. People said to me, surely it was a long 8 hours, wasn't it? I was like, well, it's only a long 8 hours if you're guilty and you're waiting to be interviewed. As far as I was concerned, I haven't done anything wrong. It's a human right to get out and protest. Once you guys arrived home and you realised that the video had obviously had the impact that it had, I believe with reaction videos included now, it's somewhere around the region of 300,000 views. So what was your initial reaction, girls, when you first got home and you realised what had happened?
Obviously, I mean, I was gobsmacked, basically.
Everyone was talking about you.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I'm 50 years old, but I've only just understood what viral means.
It made it to my sister, who's currently in Australia. Like, it's on Australian news. My sister texts me the next day, like, what the fuck?
I feel that actually, I mean, there's two ways of looking at situations. You can look at it from a negative perspective, or you can look at it from a positive. And I absolutely believe that what happened for a reason. I'm glad that it happened the way that it did. I mean, okay, like, I didn't enjoy it, but it's kind of exposed the police, and it's shown them for what's happening. It's being shown what's happening right now. And people need to see that. Yeah, okay, we might be part of a protest. Yeah, okay, we might enjoy mixing together with like minds and sharing our views and stuff like that. I mean, we're humans. That's what humans do. We interact with each other. But at that precise moment in time, when those police came and arrested us, we were sat on a bench having a cup of coffee, just enjoying an afternoon with friends, Saturday afternoon sat on the beach. Yeah, and at that precise moment in time, I was doing nothing wrong. And I'll stand by that. I'll stand by that.
And also, and going on from what Ray said, essentially, this is what people have got to look at as well, because I don't know if you looked in the video I did, but a couple of teenagers actually innocently got caught up in it. And people have got to think, obviously looking in the future, this is what they're going to get brought up on if they're in groups of more than two. I mean, obviously, essentially, Saturday we were obviously targeted because we were suspected of being part of a demo. But in the future, these are actually going to be rules in place, aren't they, where you're not allowed to be any more in groups than two. And those teenagers generally innocently got caught up in it. And this is what will happen.
Marcia, the media have been in contact with you. What contact have you had with the media? What was the process of that contact? And where do things stand currently?
Well, since the police released a statement saying that my arrest or our arrests were staged, I got up first thing this morning to have the Daily Mail knocking on the door, asking for my opinion, because of the fact that the police put that statement out in the Bournemouth Echo yesterday. Somebody that I haven't spoken to for many years decided to contact the Daily Mail and sell a story about me.
This person, I think, said that you were suffering from paranoia, that you were an unbearable person to speak to now, that that your life was consumed by negativity and hatred towards COVID. Are any of these things true? And would this person be in a position to be able to make those judgments about you?
But I haven't spoken to her for about 3 years. So she wouldn't personally know my views on the COVID situation because I haven't spoken to her since all this started. So the stuff she has said about me in paper is just made up out of thin air. Because the police put that statement out, then obviously the mainstream media have jumped on it and just slated me personally. So I've had abuse all day long, online, at my front door, at my workplace, everywhere, because Dorset Police put out a statement which implies that we staged our arrests.
So they've printed this story about you. Did you have any warning that this story was going to come out?
No, literally, as I was talking to the reporter, my daughter showed me the phone and they'd already printed it.
Before he'd even left the house.
Yeah, unbelievable.
What did you say to the mainstream media, and what's been the knock-on effect from that?
Well, they asked me the first thing they asked me was for my views on Dorset Police's statement last night about the fact that it was all staged. So, obviously, I gave them my views, which is exactly the same as what we just laid out to you, and I said in no way was it staged. And, well, there was no point in me saying anything, to be honest, so, because before he left, it was published.
Madness. Absolute madness. Yeah. I guess to both of you, what is the next step? What are you guys left with in terms of the arrest? Have you guys been given a court date, or what does the next little while hold for you guys?
Well, personally, I was arrested and de-arrested. I wasn't given any paperwork saying that I was getting fined, cautioned, charged, anything. They literally put me in a van, took me to the middle of Poole, and then dropped me off there. As far as I'm concerned, nothing's going on, because I've been arrested and then I've been de-arrested. Then the police come out and start to tell the world what they think I was doing by staging all this, and everyone's just personally attacked me. Left, right, and centre, at home, at work, everywhere.
So I was only given a Section 35 at the police station after I gave them my details. They did ask me repeatedly on the way there whilst I was in the van whether or not I would change my mind and give them my details. I point blank refused, because my argument was I was doing nothing wrong. In the video that I'm sure you've seen, it shows me asking the officer for proof that actually I am obliged to give my details, because my argument was at that precise moment in time I was doing nothing wrong, therefore I wasn't raising any suspicion, I wasn't causing anybody any distress, that there was no need for me to give my details over to the police, and that was my argument, and I'm well within my right to stand my ground with that. So I asked the officer to prove to me where is it that show me what I need to see in order to prove that I need to give you my details. And basically she read something from Google stating that unless the person's acting in a suspicious manner, then obviously the police have a right to ask for your details. And in the video you can see me stating, well, how is sitting on a bench having a cup of coffee acting suspicious? Please, I do not understand. And obviously they were having none of it, because I refused to give them my details based on that fact. I was doing nothing wrong. But they were having none of it, so they decided to cuff me quite brutally and left the cuffs on me the entire time. I did ask for them to remove them because they were extremely tight. I did ask them to loosen them, but they wouldn't. So I had to sit with them whilst they were cutting into my wrist the whole time to get to Bournemouth Police Station. They still refused to take them off, even though I was in the cell, even though they'd searched me. Only was it that actually I said, you know what, they were searching me, and I had my bank card on me. And he looked at my name, put it straight out, and of course, I don't usually take anything out of my pockets, but it was in my pocket. Anyway, so yeah.
Girls, if I'd have told you a year ago that you were going to be in this position, what would you have told me? And has this made you more determined or dampened your spirits to continue doing what you're doing?
Oh my goodness. Well,
More determined.
if anything, it's just made us more determined.
Yeah.
It's unfair. They can't continue to treat people the way they're treating us. I mean, the Section 35 states that we're causing harassment, alarming people and distressing people. I mean, what's the next stage from that? Are they going to start treating us like terrorists?
I think the only people that were causing alarm and distress Saturday were the police.
Yeah, they literally were. The only people.
We had the police come around today and ask if there was anything that they could do. Obviously, just retract the statement that it was staged, because it was in no way staged by us. It was clearly staged by them.
Because honestly, we didn't know what to expect that day. I mean, everybody goes there of their own free will.
Exactly. This is what I was saying. Am I being arrested because I have an opinion? They didn't have an answer for that, but I know what the answer was, definitely.
Everything will work out as it's meant to work out, and everything's going to be just fine. I'm pretty sure of that.
Guys, thank you for listening and thank you for being with me today.
Cheers, Joe.
Thanks, Joe.
Bill Gates, if you're listening,
Your shit will never be the same again.
freedom, freedom,